Okay, we are live. I'm just gonna
Perfect.
check on the group. Hi, Katie. How are
Hi,
you?
hi, yeah, and I'm great. Thank you so much for welcoming me into this space. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I am so honored to have you here because since I met with you last year, I just feel like our paths are so aligned and you are just walking into your leadership so beautifully in your beautiful self and you're like your young age. And I'm just like, yeah, so happy. And what we do with this group, I was more talking about pleasure and all this embodiments. But what you do with women's health coaching, and you also have like yoga therapist background and nutritionist, like you can help a woman so much with going through their physical issues like PMS. It's like so complementary. I feel like it's the other end of like supporting women and as I talked about pain and pleasure, I thought it's actually so amazing that we are doing this show. And you are here to be with me. And it's so good that like I have you on the live. I just feel so energized by your energy. So all right. I am going to actually ask you first of all, we don't have many questions on the group, so we'll go with a couple of questions that we have. And if you have any questions from your group, Katie, by the way, guys, has got a beautiful group that she could put it on the link later on. That if you like to also join, I think you have a Facebook group,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
she does regular yoga. She asks questions. Like she gives so much value in there around PMS issues and other health issues. So go check her out. She is so incredible. So tell us a little bit about your story, Katie. Like what brought you to this field to help women? Um, yeah, how did you end up in this journey?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. So I think this is common for a lot of people working in the field. We come in because first of all, we're looking to heal ourselves. There's something going on in our own lives that we're looking to heal, and then we learn so much about it and want to share it with others. So that was definitely the case for me as well. I was struggling with it. All kind of started with an abusive or sexually abusive relationship that I was in that led
Oh,
to addiction and depression and all kinds of PMDD, which is like severe PMS and cramps, and it all kind of manifested physically in my body. So I was searching for an answer to release myself of all of this really heavy energy and trauma that was weighing me down. So I
yeah.
discovered yoga at first, and then I found that as I was practicing was like a really masculine practice in a lot of ways, the way that I'd been taught traditionally in India. So I then moved into more kind of feminine tantric practices and still bringing the yoga into that for sure. Um, but just kind of putting my own little spin on it, quite similar to the hip circles and stuff you were doing in the 3 day play shop was amazing. I enjoyed that so much.
They're so good, aren't they?
Yeah. And then I just decided to kind of really get into the healing of the physical body. So I did my holistic nutritionist qualifications. And then, yeah, as I said, I just wanted to share all of that with lovely women like yourself and the people in this group and in my group. So that's how I'm here.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Even just before I started the session, I was feeling like, well, I was writing about how to introduce you. I was looking at all these qualifications that you have, and then I was like, whoa, she has like whole package. And like I am a little bit similar. I support people with business, with their energy issues or emotional issues. So it's sometimes really hard to explain what I am doing. And, in this world of where people feel like they need to niche down so much to be able to attract people. In fact, it is for like really powerful women who are connected to their like intuitive self and, that medicine woman type or like,
Yeah.
knowing about alternative therapies, we know that it's not just like one little funnel, right? There's so many beautiful sides of it, like you said, nutrition and yoga. I love yoga as well. Like it's so
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? It changes everything. Like
Oh
nutrition
yeah.
and yoga itself, even, isn't it? It's like, yeah. I'm so amazed to hear from you. And your story sounds very interesting. And this is one of the things I also talk about all the time. Our pain, our experiences
Yeah.
create this medicine, which is so real, like so real, that to help other people, because so that people can calibrate to your energy, people can like find all these things that you learned in one session or one group program, and then it's like collapsing time for them. They don't have to go and research and go on a journey to India, right? Like it's
Yeah, exactly.
particularly with COVID at the moment. Like I would love
Yeah.
to go to India, but I know traveling is a bit limited at the moment. So
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the pain side of things because obviously, we've been talking about that in the play shop that you did. And I think it's so true that to heal, or I guess what I'm trying to say is to really rise, you kind of have to have fallen a little bit first in some way. Because there seems to be two kind of types of people, if you like. That's probably a bit too much of a label, but you have people that are quite happy, that kind of just go through life being pretty happy and everything's okay. And then you have people that have a real big crash and then they really rise. And I think we're on a
yeah.
similar journey in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I do feel like it happens to like negative experiences or bad experiences happen to a lot of people, but maybe for some people it's different. Like it's just I don't know. Like there were times in my life, for example, when it comes to pain, because we are going to talk about PMS. So like in my life, there were times, particularly when I was young in 20s, more around my 20s, I would definitely numb the pain part, right? If there's separation from like a, beloved boyfriend or someone that I love, someone doesn't want to answer to my messages or whatever, I would definitely go drinking, partying with friends, not trying to think about it, right? And what I realized is as I grow older and learned more about spirituality and connection to myself, I realized that I was actually running away from pain and that was not solving the problem. So I would attract the same type of boyfriend and go through same issues with another man. So I was like, what am I doing really here? Like, so sitting with pain, I found so powerful. Like, and I've only done it in the last couple of years. Most of my life, I would be like I said, distraction, going out, seeing other friends, or just watching TV, whatever you can do to not think about it, but then being
Yeah.
present to your heart, to your body, to maybe letting yourself cry. Like, I don't know, what do you do? For me, it's like, yeah, when I have pain, I think I just these days I start really allowing myself to cry, and I find it so powerful because it moves the energy. Whereas before, I wouldn't actually cry, right? I would be like, let's not just cry. I would feel it's like weakness, but now I'm like, it actually is strength, right? Like it brings so much more medicine to our world. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything that organically comes around pain that you want to share. If not, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit,
definitely.
spontaneous person, so
No, that's okay. Yeah, something that just really came to mind then is I think the way that women experience these, or pain, emotional pain, physical pain, is so different to men. And one of the main reasons for
mm.
that is because we have a menstrual cycle. And
Yeah.
it's a blessing and a curse sometimes if it's not being kind of attended to, but it is a blessing because we get this chance every time we come into our premenstrual phase and we have our PMS phase before we bleed. We get a chance to feel our emotions at their fullest, and even that week or few days, whatever it is for you, you can just allow yourself to bawl your eyes out, have some creative expression, and just get it all out of your system. It's like a monthly reboot almost. So we're actually very fortunate to have that.
Yeah, totally. Isn't that amazing? It's like, although in our world, I guess when if you are working 9 to 5 or something, which is what I've done most of my life,
Yeah.
working for companies, and usually it wouldn't even be 5. It would be I would bring work from work to home, and I would have to keep working at home. Like it would be more than
9 to
5 p.m.,
9.
right? Or over the weekends, I would still do some reports or whatever. I just found those times. I remember how irritable I was. Like I would get irritable if someone said something. I could just like explode like that, or like get moody or things like that. But there is almost no space within that system to release that as well. And I think it's also awareness. It's like probably the first thing is that you are aware of this menstrual cycle. Not that we are unaware, but that you can take time off, you can just release, you can just enjoy yourself, like you said, right? But yeah, within like this rat race of today's world, I don't know, isn't it a bit hard for women sometimes? I feel for like women working so hard or having children at home or like rushing from one place to another. In fact, we are taking it away from ourselves, right? Like it's our healing time, it's our. Yeah, like I was just thinking about it before I come to the session with, for example, the ancient shamanic tribes. They had this red tents, as you may know as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like the woman would take time, right? They would go out to those tents and they would just like bleed, and it will be like that time of your children are taken care of by community, you don't have to work, someone maybe is cooking there for you, there are other sisters to chat, and those women would go into dreaming and bring those messages back to the tribe. And I found this so powerful because psychologically as well, what I found is if I'm covered with, I mean, surrounded by many people around that time, I respond more, like worse. I feel like I just need space. Whereas if I started to, I mean, I am now living very consciously. So what I do is like I take time off from kids and stuff, and I found that it's amazing, right? To have the space to heal, to have the break from work. I don't also work like for 7 days or 6 days around my PMS or bleeding time now. I found that it's just like, whoa, it changed so many things. So from my experience, I experienced the hell and the heaven around the PMS. So I truly understand. So what would you suggest, or what is your experience? Like what are the things you like to do or you like to suggest women to do if they have, pain or irritation or moodiness or, the general symptoms around PMS, or yeah, if you like to extend this conversation into your work with your experience, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first thing I'll touch on is something that you were just talking about actually, is like how on earth do we as women allow ourselves to cry and rest and bleed and do all of these things when we're living in a patriarchal and capitalist society as well, that's really asking us to grow and work hard and not really thinking about being in touch with our bodies, with nature, with the cyclical way of living, whether that's our own menstrual cycle or the cycle of the moon, the cycle of the weather seasons, whatever it is. So this is a question I get asked all the time, like how do I even find time to heal PMS?
Yeah, okay, that's a very general conversation.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah.
And my answer is, I guess it's not the greatest answer, but do what you can. So you might not be able to take the whole week off work if you're not working for yourself, if you're working for another company. But some companies are introducing like one paid day of menstrual leave, which I think is incredible. I mean, it's a very small amount of companies, but even having that conversation with your boss that that you might be a little bit slow paced, maybe you want to leave a little earlier on these days of the month, but then maybe when you come into your ovulatory or your ovulation at the opposite end of the month, then maybe you'll stay half an hour later or you'll work a lot harder and kind of make it up. So learning to live with that cycle of rest and activity just gives you a little bit of space, even if it's like a 10-minute toilet break that you take. Just go in there and cry for a bit, that's okay.
Sure, sure. That's so interesting, isn't it? With the time, particularly when Yeah. And do you think awareness, like, even if you have one day, or say like you just have a weekend with your PMS, but you are so aware that you make the most of that weekend for healing rather than rushing or doing other things. Do you think would that change as well? Like awareness kind of with time issue, if they don't have time, but they are deepening the connection to their body, or maybe I think I did one of your meditations in your group and that was so beautiful, even though it was like 15 minutes or something, it did change something for me, and I was going through again like PMS issues.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for that, because it was really bringing nature and just holding our body. And so yeah, what I'm trying to probably ask you is that, do you think there's some like, methods, like, I don't know, you probably introduced, I think, yoga as well. Like there's some things that they could help if they don't have a lot of time, like for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's a lot of what I share in my menstrual healing yoga, as I call it, or my
Oh,
online course, is that you can optimize that rest time. So just lying there for half an hour would do wonders. But if you
mm,
can lie there and do a yoga nidra practice, which means like
yeah,
yogic sleep, so you get into a bit of a trance state and work around or bring awareness to the whole body, and do a bit of a visualization as well. That half an hour is going to feel like 2 hours of rest. Um,
yeah.
as well, all the pranayama, the breathing exercises that you share quite a lot of as well.
Mm,
So if you can only find, you've only got a half an hour lunch break, what do you do with that half an hour? Well, maybe if you can get out to, a park or somewhere outside, and 20 minutes to eat your lunch, 10 minutes to do a breathing exercise or a
yeah.
meditation. It's just kind of fitting it in where you can, and you'd be amazed. Well, I'm sure you're more than aware of how much of an impact that makes on your day, and especially when you're in that difficult PMS period.
Totally. When I was in business, this was like many years ago. By the way, if you guys are on the live, I can see a couple of people coming and going. We can't really see you unless you comment, because we're on the stream yard. So you might wanna, if you have anything related to this conversation that you're listening us on the live, you can just always put it in the comments to interact with us. When I was in a business, I remember also some companies were giving some options for people to lay down in the lunch break under their beds. Sorry, under their not beds, tables. And I think it was an American company that was doing that. And I found it incredibly powerful. Not that everyone would like to lay down in an office, but that, imagine a woman going through these issues and having that opportunity. And, it might require some setup, but, that is because isn't that like connecting us to Mother Earth as well, right? Like grounding our energy, and just that there is something with that being horizontal. This is what my midwife said, like right after I gave birth to my baby. Not that this is related, but with my postnatal healing, she was like, the more you lay down in the first days, the less the healing will take, because you obviously have bleeding and other things, and you feel very weak. It's a massive thing to go through. So she was, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, of course I'd like to lay down, but I was like, what do you mean, like scientifically? Because, we all have this also intellectual mind, right? And she explained to me that there is something different in that being horizontal than being upright, with healing. So she was like, you can actually collapse time. And this is probably very similar with PMS, right? Taking the time to nap, maybe, or like you said, like half an hour if you don't have time to just go under the blanket and be cozy and and have like a cuppa, and maybe not do social media that day, or like things like that can be so practical and so helpful, I think, to, yeah, like particularly for the women, they don't have, yeah, they have kids or they don't have time, or I've been there, like it can be really painful. So
Yeah.
yeah, these ideas are amazing. And also you do yoga with yoga nidra, right? Like, I don't want to say
Yeah.
the wrong thing, because you share quite a bit, but I can't remember very well
That's
because I'm very bad when it comes to social media because I work on it. Like I just do my own things and then I don't usually have so much time. But
me too.
I love like, do you do meditations and yoga like involved with this healing period? Like, do you want to talk a little bit about it, or is this something you want
Yeah,
to share? Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, before we dive into kind of what to do when you've got cramps and PMS, I just thought I'd briefly
Oh
explain
yes, sorry.
why
Yeah.
we. No, that's
Yes.
okay. No worries. I just thought I'd explain why we actually get PMS because it's related to
Oh,
what we were talking about before.
yes.
Because I think when we understand why something's happening, it's easier to understand how to then heal it.
Of course. Thank you so much for that. That's
No,
great.
that's
Yes.
okay. That's okay. So one of the things, we've mentioned there, it's stress, it's not having enough time to yourself. And the reason you need that time to yourself is because PMS really, the biggest part of it is unprocessed emotions and trauma. And you'll
Mm.
find that the same things come up every single month and upset you or irritate you until you release it from your body. And we
Oh,
hold a lot of that as women in particular, we hold a lot of that emotion in our yonis, or yoni is
yeah.
kind of the Sanskrit word for the female reproductive system as a whole. Um, so we hold a lot of tension and stress in that area physically.
Yeah.
When women start doing this work, they'll notice how much they actually clench the muscles of the vaginal canal, which is
Mm.
super interesting. Um,
Mm.
and there's other things as well, like hormonal balancing. So diet is a big factor if you've got a lot of estrogen and inflammation going on. And that can also be caused by environmental factors like BPA as well in plastics. There's all these kind of things. Let me see if I've missed anything there. Yeah, even like relationships and career, like any stresses. Um, yeah, and so just moving, so that basically anything that's taking you away from Mother Nature and how
Mm.
we're meant to be living, all of these factors will bring more PMS into your life.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting and so comprehensive. I knew a little bit about the emotional and psychological part, but all those other things I actually never thought of, like environmental issues and other things. But if you think about, we are part of the oneness, right? Everything is connected, Mother Earth, and we. I mean, when I say we, most of the people live very disconnected lifestyles in the cities, in
Yeah.
small places. They don't have an access to garden. Like I feel so lucky to be in Australia, to be honest, because I come from Turkey and it's a very crowded, big country, right? And then I always lived in flats and never had a garden. And here I'm like, oh my god, I can just go lay down on the garden like a dog or something. I started so
Yeah.
crazy because it's like it's so healing. It's like to be able to walk barefoot, to get that energy in your system. And I definitely, like, I even remember actually, this was like 10 years ago when I moved, my cycle changed. It became shorter, 26 days for some reason.
Okay.
And I didn't have a lot of PMS, right? And that would have been the stress factor removed away from my life because I had a very stressful, like full on corporate, like rush, rat race sort of lifestyle. Whereas Australia, I'm like, it's just, we can just sit down in the
Breathe.
garden. Or so yeah, so interesting. Yeah, keep talking because I think I asked you a couple of questions, but then I kind of moved on, so I don't want to take. So yeah, so you think like if the person is really connected to themselves, they will have like not many issues around the PMS. I never thought of that actually. That
Yeah, yeah. I
oh,
mean, it's one
beautiful.
of those things that the menstrual cycle is our fifth vital sign. A lot of scientists agree with that. So
Yeah.
if we're struggling with period pain, PMS, really heavy periods, it's kind of a sign that something's not right. So there's multiple,
Mm,
there's so many factors that can contribute to it, and that's why approaching it holistically is so important. But yeah, definitely the stress bringing into it. Was that your question? Sorry, is that the answer?
yeah, yes, totally. And also this is why I think you have you are offering like one-on-one consultations, right? I think this is where people can definitely, because it's like we are all individuals. Can they connect with you through Facebook if they want to, chat further and have a consultation or ask, I don't know, anything that you do around this? Because it's like probably it's different for everyone, right? Like, I mean, like from myself, I remember the times when I'm in general very iron deficient. I thought I talk a little bit about my own PMS things with you as well because we
Yeah,
didn't
we're
have any
talking about
questions.
it.
I was like, do I have a question to ask to Katie? I have to
No,
really think about my life. So like I'm very iron deficient. And it's interesting. When I was vegetarian, at the moment I'm not vegetarian, but I used to be vegetarian. I used to have less PMS issues.
yeah,
And now, even though I eat meat, I do have like ongoing iron issues, and I think it could be also childbearing, pregnancy or breastfeeding. All of that contributed probably. That sometimes is the case for me, right? When I have like extra iron tablets, I feel a little bit better and easier around that time, particularly physically.
yeah.
And magnesium, like sometimes I can lack in magnesium and that just takes away my happiness. And I'm like, what happened? I'm sad, So, but it could be different for everyone, I guess, like whether it's stress or eating or, yeah, so many factors in there to be able to really, really know what's wrong with this person. Or even you mentioned like relationship problems. And this is another thing I see women a lot in my world for like coaching, or I also, study psychology. So yeah, constantly work with people.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when, for example, a relationship isn't, it's not going well, whether they are together or separate, a lot of the women will have very heavy PMS. And it's almost like, I feel like spiritually your higher self is coming down and saying to you, like, come on, do something. I sometimes feel that. But of course, it's not usually the advice I can give to people, but I kind of feel sometimes that there's something wrong around the relationship, or, like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it's important to work with people one to one. So I offer a discovery session where we'll go through people's health history, and that's all free and obligation free. That I'm happy to jump on with people and just have a chat. And if it goes to coaching, that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay as well. But it's just so interesting to talk through someone's health history, and we'll cover mental health, physical health, spiritual connection, relationships, career, and just get a real good picture of what's going on in the entirety of what I call the circle of womanhood. um,
Yes, of
because
course.
there's so many things that can contribute. So yeah, just let's dive into diet because it's something that you've
Sure.
mentioned there. So iron and magnesium. Hopefully, I can help you a little bit on that front.
Oh, I would love
Yeah.
that.
So
And maybe
it's
there's more. I don't know. These are just the little things. Maybe, yeah, whatever advice you can give will be amazing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean it's funny that you mentioned iron and magnesium because they're the two most important vitamins that I will, or vitamins depending on where you're from, that I'll
Um,
make sure to address with women because iron, yes, definitely going through pregnancy and postnatal recovery, but also every time we bleed, we're losing so much iron in our blood. So
yeah.
that's something that's really important to address. And as I'm sure you've experienced it, it can affect your mood and your fatigue so much if you've got low iron. Um, so yeah, that's definitely something we address. And magnesium as well is also incredibly important. And that's more in the lead up to your period,
Yeah.
to your bleed. It's very important to, a lot of people find it's necessary to supplement with a magnesium tablet, and then iron tablets while they're on their period. Or I always encourage people to bring it into their diet as much as they can, and typically supplement for a little bit until we get the diet sorted out and then phase out the supplements is kind of the way I like to go about it, because you need to make sure that people are getting the vitamins, but it's always better to have it within a food just because it absorbs in our body so much better. For example, iron, you really need to be having it with vitamin C at the same time, or it doesn't really absorb into the body as well. So even if you're having your iron tablet with a glass of orange juice, like that makes a huge difference to not doing that. So yeah, that's a really important area. And dark leafy greens is what we want to be having for those things. But what I also find super interesting is that so many women crave chocolate just before they're on their period. Is that something you experience?
Yeah, of course. I'm a very chocolate person, but there are times I don't really crave. But yeah, definitely around the period, I would be like, "Where is the chocolate?" It's very common,
Yeah.
I found. I don't know if everyone does that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm yet to find a client that I've worked with that doesn't have this chocolate craving. So it's it's super common. And the reason for, or in my opinion, the reason for that is that cacao, which is kind of the more raw, nutrient dense powder compared to cocoa, is full of iron and magnesium. And I just think that's so
Wow.
interesting that we crave chocolate and it's got those essential vitamins in it that we need at that time, or
Yeah.
minerals as well.
Yeah, wow, that's so amazing. And have you ever had like ceremonial cacao drink in one
Yeah,
of those like
all
I had
about
it
it.
in one of those festivals because I was like, okay, I can make it at home, but what do you mean by a ceremonial? It was really like, whoa, like I don't know, it would have been very good quality or something. I remember how it uplifted me, and I feel very actually connected to this like plant. Like I'm like, whoa, it's actually really healing, really beautiful, and can taste nice. And I obviously sweeten it a little bit because otherwise it might be super bitter. But yeah, it's like I think sometimes we gotta be easy on ourselves, right? Like if you feel like I guess if you get the best quality that you can, whether it's organic or dark, do you think dark chocolate is a bit better than the other one? When
Yeah, I mean, this is something important to highlight just quickly that if
yeah.
you're having milk chocolate, it's so full of sugar that,
Hmm.
I mean, you're still getting a bit of cocoa in there, but it's so processed and there's so much sugar that, to be honest, the sugar is probably having more of a negative impact than the
Sure.
benefits from that tiny bit of cocoa that's in the chocolate. So one of my favorite recommendations, and I'm actually drinking it right now, is to mix cacao with a little bit of honey and some preferably plant-based milk, just because dairy can throw up people's estrogen levels a little bit. Not everyone, but a lot of people that does affect them. But just having that like homemade, really nutritious hot chocolate, and then if you can afford the ceremonial cacao, for me that's a bit of a treat to have, because it's I like to have my cacao hot chocolate every day, and I couldn't afford ceremonial cacao every
So
day. I
nice.
wish.
Why not having ceremonies every day? Let's just celebrate. I kind of think sometimes we don't need a reason to celebrate. Like I'm very like, let's just celebrate this or that. Like if I
Yeah.
wake up happy, I celebrate. So I really love your idea. I'm gonna steal it. Actually, I'm gonna do it every day. Some ceremonial cocoa for me and sit down instead of maybe coffee because I have a ritual with coffee. Where coffee isn't the best drink as we know. So maybe I could try the steer from coffee to cacao. That would be really nice. I actually, there is I don't know if you know her. um there is a doctor called Dr. Rachel Yan. She is like kind of in my network. I usually share her things as well. She talks highly of how Western medicine actually really mistreats this like PMS symptoms and stuff like that, because she is like a doctor, but she doesn't want to. Not that she doesn't want to. I'm not sure where she's at with the system, but she explains how people are given the pill, for example. That is so many things like nutrition could be done, or they could have maybe mineral deficiency. Like or emotional issue, right? Like it's like she was like, it's just we just given the pill, and is that really? And we know that there's a lot of side effects around it. So it's like so interesting what you're sharing and so helpful for women. So I really want to thank you for everyone who's watching you and listening and potentially learning from you. Is that and also for your community. This is an amazing gift because it's not the very straightforward and common advice, right? I don't know what it's like at the moment. When I was growing up, uh, you wouldn't actually be able to get advice unless you saw, a practitionist or naturopath or someone like
Yeah.
yourself, health coach. And then coaching wasn't that common, right? Like it's almost new. After COVID, it's like we have amazing range of women working and serving world. And so, yeah, I feel like this is so, in a way, so crazy that the Western medicine would give the pill instead of these options, right? And then the other way is like, there is a way of healing. There is for people who are like more open to heal. And my programs are similar. It's like, not everyone would enjoy, not everyone would like to walk that path, right? Not everyone would like to be like, I really want to sit with myself and, spend a month or 3 months with you. It's not for everyone, but at the same time, when people are ready and then they search something, they like, there is something more, there should be something more than a pill. Then, they could maybe contact with you and find other ways, right? And they are more like holistic, so it doesn't harm them and it doesn't harm the environment, right? It's all together. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I think of it and then I'm like, is the world crazy or are we crazy or what's going on? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've had the same contemplation, but I've decided we're the smart ones.
Yeah, yes, totally. I mean, we are healthy, at least we are healthy. We are living our lives in the best capacity that we can. We make the most of our days and our lives. And I don't know about you, like for me, the things that I do is like my soul calling, I like to work for women. And
Yeah.
if I did help someone to transform their thinking or the way that they are dealing with their relationships, or saying that I'm not a relationship coach, but usually working around emotions help, will manifest in the relationships and boundaries and other things. It just gives me so much pleasure, right? I just feel sometimes after the client calls, I'm like, it's like I got a gift from someone, and I'm like, this is work, but it's like a gift as well because we see how it actually plays out, and to be at service, literally for anyone. I think it's So I don't know, how is it for you? It's like for me, we are doing really well, I think. By speaking our truth as well, because it's like, again, if it's not very common and we are able to do these things online space, like social media, and we are taking leadership, right? It takes level of leadership to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Did you find
definitely.
similar things in your work? Like,
Yeah,
not
for sure.
everyone's ready.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like the 3-month program you're offering. Am I correct in saying it's month 1 is emotions, month 2 is pleasure, and month 3 is embodiment? Is that correct?
So yeah, the first month is pleasure. Oh, thank you so much for
Oh,
actually bringing
sorry.
awareness to this. Yeah, so the first month is pleasure, because what I found is that, like, I've done 2 programs last year around the pleasure that was called Light My Fire, which was so beautiful. So what it does is it actually starts positive, creative, sensual, open, that harmonious and sexual, like, sort of connection to body. So
Yeah,
once you are lit, then I find that fire that you slowly created is helpful for clearing emotions, because sometimes emotional work can be a little bit hard. Like, let's be
yeah.
honest, like, it's not
So
that
it's good to
always
bring in that
easy.
goodness so you can kind of
Yeah,
transition.
yeah, totally. And also, you need a little bit, like, if you're starting from somewhere that's maybe it's not everyone's case, but people can be in a stagnant place, or like people can be like lost in their thinking. So pleasure is really beautiful, and for pleasure, we don't need a partner to start with as well. And um, and then, yeah, we move down into emotions, and the third one is embodiment, which is a power, which is very important for women. It's like the
Yeah,
leadership, the power, for us to be able to talk about these things where maybe 100 years ago we would be killed to talk about it, things
yeah,
like that, because we're still healing so much, right? We have so much healing when particularly it comes to woman body. There's, body shame and all of those things. So in emotion part in the second month, if the person literally even just became aware, everything might not fit into 1 month for the person. It might just start something because everyone takes their time to heal, right? So it's not like that you're gonna be, like a newborn baby in 1 month. We are starting, so it's a journey. It takes sometimes years for people. And the third part is, third month is embodiment and the power and the leadership. And when you want to bring it into your business or manifestation, it's actually what I thought is like to bring everything together. So it's like a bomb. It's like so powerful, like, and this is what I created from last year. So yeah, it's bringing all the magic together this year in like a one ongoing container. And again, like with my container, this is so interesting that I take a week off around my PMS. So it's like 3 weeks and then 1 week off, which is integration, which I thought sometimes people can be falling behind of the lives or sessions. People work, not everyone can watch everything. Even though it's like 2 sessions of a week or something, it's not like every day, but that would be very difficult. So yeah, we take integration time so everyone can like not worry about anything when they, going through their healing or catching up. And so yeah, we are doing very feminine ways. Like I kind of really integrated this system into my work, into my life, and I'm like, and I also see the results in my clients because like a couple of people literally say to me, oh my God, like I never saw someone literally on a program saying that I'm going to take a week off for my PMS. And I was like, what did you think of it? Because it just sounded a little bit funny. But I think she said something like, it's very inspiring. It's like, I'm going to do it myself now. Like now that you are doing it, now that it is valid, that we can do this. I'm like, yeah, it's your business. You can do this, So it's also leading the example for people, right? So I said so many things in my chat. Sorry if did I answer your question? You asked something about the program, but I took it.
I just wanted to highlight that even because we're talking about PMS, right? Like going through, for someone who's really struggling with PMS, going through your 3-month program, like, and even though it's not about PMS focused, it's bringing all that pleasure and processing the emotions and embodying the feminine energy. All of that is going to help with PMS and actually with period pain as well, because just explaining a little further into this, I think, well, I know that period pain is often a physical manifestation of the unprocessed emotion and trauma that we're holding in the body, alongside other things like having high estrogen levels and inflammation. That's all going to add to pain. So there's all these different things that come in. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that if anyone is struggling with PMS and thinking about doing your program as well, like it will definitely work.
Yeah, I think it's really complimentary, isn't it? This is what I was thinking. Like we haven't chatted around it, but maybe there is a place for you to also, take some space in the program to support me with your own knowledge, and that would be really wonderful. Like it's something I've been thinking of. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I will talk later on somewhere in between. So it's like kind of surprise. If it happens, it's a surprise. If it doesn't happen, it's like we're not saying that this is happening because we're still chatting around it. But that will be so wonderful because it's like, these are the ways that we actually bring sisterhood into the community as well. Because like what we know is complementing each other's work, and and this is the feminine leadership, isn't it, Katie? It's like the masculine leadership was more around one person kind of regulates everyone, and there's a dominance in that, and there's like power imbalance, and it just didn't feel good. Like I remember being in the places, I always see it like a principal at the school or something. It's like one person says everything, everyone has to do it. Feminine leadership is more like, let's create it together, let's just help each other, let's walk together, let's like witness each other, and it's just so beautiful. It's deeply healing, learning, sharing. Like I'm really enjoying this session with you, even though we have like had 44 minutes. I'm like, really, like
where's the time gone? No, I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I love that yeah, we can kind of bring our heads together and It's very I think you tackle or play with a lot of the energy side of things and energy management, which we've spoken about as well, whereas my what I offer is more around the physical body and healing that side of things with nutrition and yoga. So it's so interesting how these things come together. I did just want to talk a little bit about the physical pain side of things and how
Yes,
people might
please.
be able to ease that off a little bit.
Yes, please. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. So as I mentioned, we hold a lot of tension and gripping in the yoni and our vaginal canal, which really contributes to period pain, because when the
Mm.
blood and there's this like pulsing that happens to try and flush out the uterine lining so that we can grow a new one. If you've got lots of tension and held muscles going on, it's so hard for that release to happen, and it causes a lot
Mm.
more pain. So that's why I've created this menstrual healing yoga, which is all focused around the hips, around the yoni, and it's all bringing flexibility, but also a feminine strength, I like to call it, to that area. So it's not like you've got a strong vagina, but it's strong enough to prevent things like prolapse and to allow you to have the muscles for childbirth as well and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really brings all of that in and just helps to relax the whole area and your body as well, which calms down the nervous system. I'm sure we could talk a lot about being in fight and flight mode, but that's maybe another topic. But all of that being in fight and flight mode, we want to calm all of that down, because that actually sends pain signals around the body.
Mm.
Because it's trying to activate you just in case there's like a tiger you need to fight or something. But typically in our world today, there's no tigers around. So we're getting into this, this fight and flight mode, or activating the sympathetic nervous system. That's kind of the scientific way of putting it. And it sends pain signals around the body to wake us up. And if you're bleeding at that same time as you're feeling really uptight, you're going to experience so much more pain. So if we can bring in these breathing practices, this yoga nidra, the physical asanas and movements and hip circles that are all just relaxing and bringing in that feminine, calm energy, it actually reduces the physical pain that you experience, which I don't know about you, but I find that so interesting how it's all so interconnected, and it really manifests in the body when there's struggles going on mentally or whatever.
For sure, for sure. I think this is the first time I heard about it. It was like this Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now book,
Yeah.
because he talked about something like pain is not really a natural thing, but people make it natural. It's just like exactly you mentioned. There's like body is clenching, and there is like this waiting to be kind of, maybe there's a threat or fight or flight, or he explained it in a way I can't really explain right now, but it was very similar to how he explained it. And I was like, that's so interesting, he's a man, how does he know? Sometimes find it funny when men try to explain childbirth or like PMS or bleeding. I'm like, how do they really experience it in their body to be able to know about it? Because for a man to say, oh, shouldn't have PMS or symptoms, it's just like, what, really? But when you explain it this way, it makes so much sense, because also we both experience the other way around, right? So it's like, like the way that you integrated is like all the things that you learned with yoga and everything into your own experience, and then you experience the bliss of the PMS, or the also in the past maybe the pain of it. And so it's like, it's making sense, and the way that you explain is also making sense to another woman, because it's like we hear each other, we understand each other, and there is an energy as well. I think it's like maybe the common ground that we come together is the healing, because we are all interested in learning and sharing and helping each other heal, right? There's that real calling, like in myself, for example, is like one of my, if you say that, why are you here on this planet, I would be like, heal. That will be the one word I would say, probably. So you can also see it like with all the things that you are doing, it's all coming down to healing, right? Like emotional, physical, and even trauma. You're right, because it's like Like for example, with when we talk about the yoni, there's so many things, and some of them will definitely be part of the program. Is that even cervix? You know, when we go deeper into the yoni, where it's not a lot of women would experience, but there's a way of having cervical orgasms, and
Yeah.
that though, like to activate that part or to with a partner or using some there's like wands or like crystal things or nice things to try. Um, in the beginning, it brings pain, or it feels a little bit like it is not that like unicorn, that or the way that I experienced it, or I also heard about a lot of other women like sex coaches, like people who do this job like day to day. They were like, yeah, there will be some pain coming, and it's so interesting how much pain like yoni holds, and if untouched, it's always there, right? So
Yeah.
with awareness, with physical, whatever we can do, with yoga, with orgasms, all these things that we are helping her to like release and just be like, you're okay, and I'm holding you, and you're going to heal from this, and we need to take time to do that, right? It's like all the healing journeys are a bit like that, the way that I see it now. In the past, I would try to rush things, but now I'm like, I have all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
is chasing. I don't need to go chase healing anymore. And this is a different also. Yeah, you give yourself time and space and learning all these things. Like, yeah, I really feel like you shared so much. Like you gave so much value to this community, to your community. Yeah, like this is absolutely amazing. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, but I was going to ask you, what is your best contact? Like, if women wanted to further discover things with you, you mentioned that you do one-on-one consultations for discovery calls, which is amazing. It's like, I was like, wow, really? This is amazing. I'm so happy for you and for the other women who could benefit from the service.
Yeah.
And you have a program. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do, what you offer, how they can find you? So if there's anyone who's listening us and interested in, can just check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just, before I dive into all that, I'll just quickly touch on something that you've mentioned because it kind of all relates. Is that a lot of women accept period pain and PMS, even when it's really severe, just because it's such a accepted thing in our society. And I could go on for ages about why that is, but let's just say that it is an accepted thing that we suffer with this, and we go to the doctors and we just get given a magical pill that effectively actually takes our menstrual cycle away, because you're not actually having the same kind of period as you do naturally when you're on the pill. You're actually having a withdrawal bleed from the pill, which is quite interesting. You're not getting the progesterone production, you're not ovulating, and there's so many
Wow.
benefits to ovulating. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So just to highlight that it is actually possible to heal period pain and PMS, and it's not something that we have to live with. So I just wanted to make that very clear before I kind of explained what I do. So I also have 3-month journeys that I take people through. So I have my one-to-one women's health coaching, which I suppose more focuses on the diet side of things and the emotional processing, because I think that that needs to be more bio-individual, more tailored to the person. Everyone's got different dietary needs, foods that they like, different experiences, emotionally, different trauma. So the coaching kind of focuses on that side of things. But then I've also got my online course, which is Heal Period Pain and PMS with Yoga. Um, and that's something that people work through at their own pace. I advise that people take 3 months to do it, and that complements very well with the coaching, because we can talk about what's going on in the course and bring the yoga into the coaching, but you can do them separately as well. And that gives you practices specifically for different symptoms that women really struggle with. But you've also got your seasonal practices, or I'm probably using a bit of jargon there, but we have the different phases of the menstrual cycle, which I call our different seasons. So I relate them to So winter is our bleed, and then ovulation is summer, and it kind of all makes sense. But you've got different practices for the different phases of your cycle as well. And then I also have a lot of lectures that really explain the science behind why we have these symptoms, why yoga helps, all explaining what's going on in the body as we move through the program. So yeah, it's very, the course is very sort of physically tailored, but we also dive into mental health and spirituality, of course, because we're doing yoga, tapping into women's intuition, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, so nice. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, so beautiful. You beautifully packaged it. And it's almost very similar to what I offer as well. I was like, we are so aligned because this is the first time around actually I brought coaching into the program. It's like integrated. I mean, it's not that I do it in the group program, but people can buy separately, which adds up to the program. So like they can have a separate session with me. Is that what you do as well? This is so, I actually think it's amazing because as you go through the program, there's issues, right? Or there's like something you want to ask. And sometimes we have Q&As in the programs, but sometimes we don't. And a lot of the healing are really individual, right? I feel like one person's like in my programs last year, what I found out is kind of amazing. It's like everyone's result was different, right? So like when I see people in the online space, they're like, you're gonna get this result and you're gonna get that result from my program. I'm like, that's like it's really hard to say. Like, how can you be so authentic to say that? I find it
Yeah.
really hard because everyone's so different, right? Like, for your work as well, for my work as well. And I watched people, like some people would finish the program and they would just implement everything. Some people would implement things in the middle. For some people, it would take a longer time. It's like everyone's different,
Yeah.
everyone has different needs and maybe they need to come into a deeper place within themselves. They only layering. Like in counseling, it's like an onion, right? Like we peel the onion peels and to us to get to the core, there's so many layers of healing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can keep talking. Like we can talk for hours, I guess, but I'm just like looking at the time, and we only gonna hit to an hour or something. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling like maybe we should wrap up. But I just love this conversation and your beautiful energy, and thank you so much for like all this yummy stuff to bring into the table today. So so yeah, would you like to share anything, or is there anything else that we missed? I don't know. I think it just felt so good, so amazing, like so organic. As I mean, I am a little bit always like that, and I think you are too. So it's like really naturally blends in like our experiences and our work. And yeah, anything else you want to share with the people before we wrap up, or
No, not really. I think we've touched on a lot of great things there, and as you said, we could talk about this for years.
yeah,
um, but yeah, just to highlight, if you did want to reach out to me, just drop me a message on
yeah.
Facebook or whatever you want to do, and yeah, we can jump on for a discovery session and have just a chat really about how I might be able to help you, and yeah, just dive into everything that's going on in your life and what might be contributing. But yeah, that's it really. I think we've highlighted a lot of really important things, and I just want to thank you again for bringing me on, and
Oh
it's
no
just been so
worries.
lovely to connect with you and go back and forth, and I can't wait to join you on the program. If we do that, that would be amazing. We'll talk more
Yeah.
about that. Very
Oh, that
exciting. Thank
was
you.
so amazing. Actually, the more I think of it, like I'm a human design. If you know about human design, I'm a generator, and generators are like they'll feel like excitement around the things that are good for them, like intuitively. So it's like, oh, there's someone watching us. Thank you both. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for
Oh,
watching
thank
and
you so much.
commenting because
Thank
I was
you.
wondering
It's
about
so
the comments and I thought maybe we're not seeing them, so we can see them. That's great. Thank you for watching. Unfortunately, I can't see the names because this is StreamYard, but yeah, thank you for being with us or on the
lovely.
replays. And maybe, Katie, you could also, on the Facebook group, you could put your group in there. So if anyone wants to join, and because I know that you regularly provide value in there, and that's so beautiful. And that way they can follow you, they can be in touch with you. And so you guys can direct also message to Katie about other things that she mentioned. And yeah, I'm super happy about this session. And you, yeah, just literally, investing your energy into the session was so beautiful. And I think we are really complementary and both holistic and both about healing. So it's just wonderful to see other women in their leadership, really, and to witness each other and to share magic and wisdom. Again, like I can talk for 10 hours or something around this. But yeah, thank you so much, Katie, for joining with us today. And I hope you have the best of the days, the best celebration, ceremonial cacao, or whatever you're doing for the rest of the day. I think
That
I'm gonna
sounds
go
like
for a walk after and just like, yeah, that will be really nice. So yeah, and we will bring maybe more magic later on. I don't know if there's anything else that we could just we created together. We'll let the people in the group know.
yeah,
Something else.
definitely. That sounds beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Gian. It really has been a pleasure to be here. No pun intended. I've enjoyed it so much, and I just can't wait to play with you more. It's going to be lovely.
Thank you so much. Have the best of the days for yourself, and
I hope
yeah,
you have a
can't wait
wonderful
to
day.
share with you again in another platform, another situation, another option. We'll see. We'll create something because this is too good not to create.
Yeah.
Love to you, Katie, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, sending my love to you as well. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your children, and we will speak soon.
Yeah, okay, we will. And thank you so much for watching us, whether you're on replay or on live. And I think you're gonna enjoy this. And sending love to everyone who's on the live or on the replay as well. So yeah, speak to you guys later. All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Oops.